Objects to their future plans to move and to relocate and that sort of thing. So, and for the record, we introduced a printout of the PowerPoint just for identification only.
All right, call your first witness on that matter.
Robin?
And with the court's permission, Mr. Harlow will be arguing that.
Very well. Hello, Mr. Harlow. Please raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I have a seat. Once you're seated, you may remove your mask.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Robin White.
Are you related to Joel Guy Sr.?
Yes, he's my brother.
And is the defendant your nephew?
Yes.
And did you know Lisa Guy also?
Yes, she was like my sister.
All right. I want to direct your attention to the time period around Thanksgiving, just before Thanksgiving of 2016, and ask you if either your brother made any statements to you about his future plans regarding the support of his son, Joel Michael.
Yes. My brother had stated to me that he was retiring and moving up, and he had cut his son off from any money, anything. He was tired of keeping him up. And Lisa was fixing to move in the family home, and Lisa was fixing to cut him off when come Christmas when he was supposed to come in. But he came in for Thanksgiving instead.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Just very briefly, so I understand your testimony is as to your brother. He stated that he had already cut off his son. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And as to your sister-in-law, she told you she was planning to cut him off at Christmas. Is that right?
Yes.
And the conversations that you had, let me ask this, the conversation you had with your brother, was your nephew part of that conversation?
No, he was not there.
Okay. The conversation you had with your sister-in-law, was your nephew a party to that conversation?
Yes. It was all about cutting him off, yes.
Okay. That was a bad question. Let me ask again. When you talked to your sister-in-law about your nephew, did your nephew hear that conversation while it was going on?
No, he wasn't there.
Okay. That's all I was asking. Thank you. One second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to clarify, as to Ms. Guy, your sister-in-law, did you have a conversation with her yourself, or did your brother tell you about your sister-in-law's plan to
No,
cut?
I talked to her about it too.
Okay. And a conversation with her is when she said she was planning to cut him off at Thanksgiving?
Yes.
I mean at Christmas?
At Christmas, yes.
Thank you.
Angela Crane.
Thank you. You missed that there.
Approach Judge.
Please raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Let me have a seat. Once you're seated, you may remove your mask.
State your name for the record, please.
Angela Crane.
You're going to have to speak up into the microphone.
Sorry, Angela Crane.
Okay, can you pull the microphone close to your... And are you Joel Geis Sr.'s daughter?
Yes.
And you're the defendant's half-sister?
Yes.
And did you have any conversations in shortly before Thanksgiving holiday, shortly before their deaths, about your father's intention to stop providing support for your brother?
Yes.
And what did he say?
I mean, he said that Joe Michael was going to be cut off and going to have to stand on his own 2 feet.
Okay. Did you have any conversations with Lisa Guy about this?
Yes.
And what were those? What did she say to you?
She agreed. It was all in the same conversation with Dad and Lisa.
And this happened close in time to their deaths. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Very briefly, Ms. Crane, do you recall when this conversation happened?
Probably October, around the middle, one of my trips back home to Tennessee.
Okay. And I understood you to say this was a single conversation with the two of them.
It's been an ongoing family conversation and knowledge. I know Dad had cut Joel Michael off probably years before, and the only reason why Lisa ever had a job, because she didn't need to work, was to solely take her check and provide it to Joel Michael, so he didn't need to work.
Okay. The conversation that you had, you said you thought was in October.
Yes.
And in which you repeated statements from both Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy. Just trying to understand, is that a time when there was the three of you talking about it together, or did you talk about it with one and then with the other?
Three of us together.
Okay. And did they indicate in those conversations, or in that conversation, the time when Joel Guy Jr. would be cut off?
After they retired and moved back to Sigornsville, moved home.
Okay. And obvious question, but at the time you had the conversation in October with Mr. Guy Sr. and Ms. Guy, Joel Guy Jr. was not present for that conversation.
Correct.
That's all, Your Honor.
Anything else? This one.
No.
Thank you, Mary. You may sit down.
Renee Charles.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Did you say yes? I'm sorry. All right, please have a seat, and you can remove your mask and get close to the microphone, please.
State your name for the record.
Renee Charles.
Are you Joel Guy Sr.'s sister?
Yes, ma'am.
And shortly before his death, did he make any statements to you about his intention to stop, for him and his wife to stop supporting your nephew, the defendant?
Yes, the week before.
Okay, and can you tell the judge what he said?
He said that that Joel Michael was coming in Christmas because they wasn't going to do anything for Thanksgiving. He wasn't coming in for Thanksgiving. And they were going to talk to him then about him having to get a job and pay the bills and stuff down there because they were retiring and moving to Scornsville and they wasn't going to have any income.
Was Lisa there when that happened?
Yes.
Okay, did she make any statements to you about it?
She said she was behind Mike.
Okay.
They were going to tell him.
Thank you. Ask the witness.
Briefly, Ms. Charles, just, and you may have said this, when did this conversation happen?
The week before.
Okay, the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they came up to Sigornsville to bring some stuff.
Okay, and when they were in Sigornsville, in that conversation, it was the three of you having the conversation?
Yes.
And you said that Mr. Guy Sr. Said that they were going to cut him off
Yes.
at Christmas, is that right?
They were going to talk to him at Christmas because he wasn't coming in for Thanksgiving.
Okay. So Mr. Guy did not actually say at what point the cutting off would happen, just when the conversation would happen?
Right.
And Ms. Guy was there during the
Yes.
conversation also?
Yes.
And what is it what did she say specifically about
She
her?
said she was behind it, that she was going to talk to him. They were both going to talk to him.
That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may sit down.
Michelle Dennison.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in the case now on trial be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, help you God? Have a seat, please, and you may reveal your mind.
State your name for the record, please.
Michelle Tyler.
And I'm sorry I've been calling you Dennison, but that's... are you Joel Sr.'s daughter
Yes, ma'am.
and the defendant's half-sister?
Yes, ma'am.
In the time shortly before their deaths in October, November of 2016, did your father make any statements to you about his intention for him and Lisa to stop providing financial support for the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Lisa make statements like this?
On October the 28th, my youngest birthday, Lisa and Dad did. On Thanksgiving, Dad did.
Okay, and let's talk about that October statement first. Tell us what Lisa said.
They had both said, but Lisa said that Joel Michael was going to have to find a job because they only had a certain amount of money. The retirement they had taken out his pension, and I'm not sure if that's the name of it, but they only had a certain amount to live on, and they would not be able to afford Joel Michael or paying for his apartment.
Okay.
Things like that.
And on Thanksgiving, what did your dad say to you?
You could, there was a little bit of tension, and so when everyone was inside and it was just,
I'm sorry? I'm sorry.
It was just me and Dad and myself. That was bad grammar. It was just me and Dad. We were out on the porch, and he said that Lisa hadn't told Joel Michael, and that you could feel like that was what was causing the little bit of tension inside the house. That you could feel the tension.
Okay.
It was a little bit.
Did he say anything specifically about them withdrawing financial support from your brother?
That's what he said. He had told Joel Michael about the that they had told Joel Michael about him having to get a job or being cut off, but he didn't. I can't remember his correct verbiage, but it wasn't cut off. It's that they couldn't afford to
Support him.
any longer.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. Tyler, just a few questions to make sure I understand. As to the conversation at Thanksgiving time, you said you and your father were on the porch. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you said your father told you that Ms. Guy had talked to Joel Guy Jr. About stopping funding. Is that right?
That they had talked to Joel Guy Jr.
Okay, so that both Joel Guy Sr. said that he and Ms. Guy had talked to Joel Guy Jr.
That they had met on October the 28th. They had already told him he needed to be looking for a job, and then on Thanksgiving they had, I guess, confirmed it or solidified it.
Okay.
Is solidified a word?
So there's, I'm sorry, I don't mean to ask the same thing again. There's you and your father on the porch. He's telling you about another conversation between him and Ms. Guy and Joel Guy Jr. Is that right?
Yes, between him, all three of them.
Okay. That conversation between the three of them, you were not present for that conversation?
No, sir.
Okay. And the conversation between you and your father, it was just the two of you on the porch. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's all, Your Honor.
Anything else for this witness?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. You may sit down.
Jennifer Whited. You have to bring her from outside, Judge.
Please come to the witness stand. You please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, please have a seat. Once you're seated, you can take your mask off and please speak in the microphone.
Just state your name for the record.
Jennifer Whited
Where are you employed?
at Jacobs.
What was your relationship with Lisa Guy?
I was Lisa's supervisor.
When did she tell you she was, when did she turn in her notice or let you know she was going to stop working?
She gave me a written notice on November 21st, 2016,
Okay. When was her last day of work?
December 2nd.
Okay. Did she make any statements to you? Did you all talk about personal matters to some degree?
We did.
Okay. Did she make any statements to you regarding her intention, her future intention to stop supporting her son?
She did make mention of that. She talked about her and her husband both retiring and moving to the family home and not being able to continue to support.
Okay. And do you know when that conversation took place?
Probably October and November. I mean, we talked just about every day. I made a point to go around and talk to all of my employees, and so we talked.
So you were aware she was going to retire before she turned in her written notice?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Whited, as I understand your testimony, you had conversations with Ms. Lisa Guy. She was going to retire and would not be able to continue to support her son. Is that right?
Yes, we did, and have conversations about her intentions of no longer supporting.
Okay. In those conversations, did she indicate to you at what point that support, at what point it was her intention for that support to stop?
She did not say a specific date, but she did say, with them retiring, that she could no longer support him.
Okay. An obvious question, but in the conversation or conversations that you had with Ms. Guy, Joe Guy Jr. Was not present during those conversations.
No, he was not.
And so, thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else with this witness, Joe? Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Any other witnesses on this issue?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Harwell, do you have objections to what we have heard?
Yes, Your Honor, and I think there's two actually very distinct legal issues. I'll try to address both of them. The first relates to the testimony that Lisa Guy or Joel Guy Sr. Had told family members that it was their intention to cut off Joel Guy Jr. at Christmas or sometime in the future. The basis of our argument on those is there may be, those may arguably fall under 8033, a hearsay exception for state of mind covering intention. The problem on those, where it falls short, is relevance. I'm surprised sometimes how often issues recur, but as I was thinking about this is the exact same legal situation that Your Honor and I confronted in Brandon Donaldson. The issue is, if that is their intention and that is what they're telling other people, that's still not relevant absent any indication that Mr. Guy Jr. overheard that conversation, was aware that that conversation happened. Whether or not Lisa Guy had an intention in her head to cut her son off at Christmas doesn't make anything more likely in the case unless Mr. Guy, the defendant, knew that that was her intention. So, yes, maybe that is 8033 material, but absent evidence that the defendant knew of it, it hasn't been linked up. So that's the argument as to those set of statements. The other statement that I think is a different legal issue is what Ms. Tyler testified to, which is that when at the time they were on the porch, that her father told her that a conversation had already happened, that Ms. Guy had talked to the defendant and told him that he had been or was about to be cut off. And that one, I think, that clearly is a hearsay problem, because now we're not talking about statement of state of mind and of intention. This is Joel Guy Sr. Making a statement to his daughter out of court that the state would be offering for its truth. The state would be offering that to prove that, in fact, Lisa Guy talked to Joel Guy Jr. And told him that he was being cut off. So that seems to me that is just straightforward hearsay, not within an exception, and should be precluded for that reason.
Thanks, sir. General, before I let you argue, I want to address the first objection as to relevance. Assuming these are proper under 803.3, I do think that they would be relevant toward a possible motive on the defendant's part to be the person who committed these crimes. The notebook that the state intends to introduce indicated some money component, somebody who's an adult being supported by the parents and being cut off from that support could be a potential motive. So I do think that there is relevance if the state can, in fact, establish that. Even I don't think we have to know the defendant actually heard those conversations, that there was an intent that they were going to pretty soon move out of that home and live off their retirement in Sir Goinsville. I think it's all close enough in time to make that relevant. We did hear the testimony from Ms. Tyler, and I think Ms. White that had already happened, and so even though I don't think that's going to be admissible, I do think that plays into motive. Now to the second part, hearsay, I think most of what I heard was proper 803.3, declaring the declarant's future intention to cut him off, but there were a couple that I noted I don't think would fall. In general, I will hear your argument on this if you disagree with me, but Ms. White said that Mr. Guy said he was retiring and had already cut his son off.
I will concede that she should not say that.
Yeah. Is she still in here, Ms. Robin White? Ms. White, okay, so this is a very sort of tricky legal issue. Now, what somebody says, and Ms. Tyler, I want you to listen to this too, what somebody says outside of the courtroom is what we call hearsay, and normally that is not allowed to be presented to the jury, but there's some exceptions to that. And one of those exceptions is when somebody declares their intent to do something. Like if I said to Mr. Sanchez, I'm going to go to the mall and watch a movie tonight, then he could come to court and say, Judge Sword told me that day he was going to a movie tonight, because that is an exception to hearsay. You're talking about somebody's future intention. But if I said, hey, Mr. Sanchez, I went to the movies last night, he couldn't say that, because that is a statement of something that had happened in the past, and there's a question on the reliability of that. So, Ms. White, when you say Mr. Guy told you that he had already cut the defendant off, you can't say that in court. That's inadmissible because it's something that's already happened in the past. But then when you say that Lisa Guy said that they were fixing to move into the family home and she was fixing to cut him off too, that's okay, because that's her statement of something that's going to happen, what she's going to do in the future, her intent, her plan of what she's going to do. That stuff's okay. And Ms. Tyler, the same thing with you. You had said that at Thanksgiving when you were out there with your dad, he said that they had already had the conversation with him. That's a past event, so you cannot talk about that. But when you talked about the October 28th conversation with your mom, that he's going to have to find another place, and because they're going to stop supporting him, that's okay as well too. So, General, I take it you concede on that as well. Okay. So that's going to be the court's ruling. I think it was just those two that I heard that were past events. Everything else, I think, was a future plan of the declarant. And so that'll be my ruling. I'm going to overrule the first objection on relevance, and I'm going to overrule it except for those two exceptions as noted. All right. General, who's your first witness? Okay. You think we can do that before lunch? We got 30 minutes. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that'll be a problem.
All right. We've already got the witness stand clean. Ready for the general, the jury, General? You ready, Mr. Halstead?
Yeah.
The jurors can go ahead and have a seat. As soon as you get in, y'all can take a seat. All right, everyone, you may be seated. Does the state waive the call, jury?
Yes.
Defense waive the call? Welcome back, folks. Thank you for that recess. I want to point something out to you. When you walk into the courtroom, everybody's standing. That's out of respect for the role that you folks are playing for our community. You may also notice that I'm not standing. It's not because I don't respect you, but the judge represents the law, which is over all of us. So traditionally, the judge doesn't stand. But whenever you come into the courtroom, you can go ahead and immediately take your seats. You don't need to remain standing. It is now time to begin the state's proof. General, if you please call your first witness.
Jennifer Whited.
Ms. White, would you please come forward? You just come up here to the witness stand next to me. You please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in the case now on trial be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? May I please have a seat, ma'am. Once you're seated, you may remove your mask.
Thank you. State your name for the record, please.
Jennifer Whited.
Where do you work, Ms. Whited?
I work at Jacobs.
What is your position there?
I'm the federal contracts manager.
Did you know Lisa Guy?
I did.
How did you know her?
She was one of my employees.
You were her supervisor?
Correct.
When did she first become employed with Jacobs?
She became a temporary employee with Jacobs in January 2012, and then she became a permanent employee in March 2013.
What was her job description?
She was a disbursement specialist.
What does a disbursement specialist do?
Within that group, we ran payments for Jacobs globally, and she would generate those payment files, review the information within the payment files, and if they were okay to pay, she would go ahead and process those payment batches.
Right. As a full-time employee, did she have benefits with the company?
Yes, she did.
Do you know whether or not she had a life insurance policy?
She did.
And do you know who her beneficiaries were for her life insurance?
I'm not 100% sure what the split was, but it was Joel Sr. and Joel Michael Jr.
Okay. And would you describe it as being work friends? You were friends while you were at work? Is that
correct? Correct.
And as part of your friendship, did Lisa Guy ever express to you her intentions about her future plans for supporting her son?
Whenever we would discuss about her moving to the family home, we did discuss about her intentions with her son.
And what did she say about her future intentions?
About no longer being able to support him because her and Joel Sr. were both retiring.
So you were aware that she was going to move on?
I was aware, yes.
When did she turn in her notice?
She turned in her notice on November 21st, 2016.
Did you discuss her plans to retire before that, though?
Oh, yes, definitely.
All right. And when was her last day at work?
Her last day, per her notice, should have been December 2nd.
And that would have been a Friday?
Correct.
Right. Can you describe her demeanor? Were you able to observe her demeanor during the time prior to Thanksgiving holiday?
Oh, prior to the Thanksgiving holiday, yep. She was excited, yet a little preoccupied because she had so many things changing in her life, but she seemed to be very excited.
Were you aware that she had sold her house?
Yes.
And did you know about her plans for Thanksgiving?
I did.
What did she tell you?
She was excited to know that her entire family, her kids, were coming to spend the holiday with her and Joel Sr.
And did you talk to her at all on the Thanksgiving holiday weekend?
I did not talk to her during the Thanksgiving weekend.
I want to direct your attention to Monday, November the 28th, and ask you what happened that day.
Well, Lisa, her work schedule started at 7 a.m., and I noticed at about 7:15 that she was not in the office. And I normally gave my employees about 15 minutes to get there, and, more out of being concerned that they were okay, I would start calling. So 7:15 came, and she wasn't there. Nobody in our group had heard from her, so I began texting her, and she didn't text back. And I thought that was highly unusual. A lot of thoughts went through my mind, hoping that she was okay, hoping that, this was her last week. She was retiring, that she had blown us off. But I knew that wasn't right. So I continued to text her. I continued to text Joel Sr. I called and never did get an answer.
Would that have been unlike her to not show up for work and not to call?
Absolutely. If she couldn't make it to work, she would have called me immediately.
And do I understand you to say that you also attempted to call her husband?
I did.
All right. And how many times would you say you called or texted?
I lost track of how many times, but I kept doing it thinking this time they're going to answer. I would say at least 20, at least.
And then what did you decide to do?
I wanted to call the police to have a welfare check done. So I called the police.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, we would ask to introduce our first exhibit. Exhibits 1 and 2, a recording of you called an emergency line or non-emergency?
Non-emergency, yes.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the court is going to receive this as Exhibit 1 and 2. When I receive an item into evidence as an exhibit, it means it's a piece of evidence that you can consider and will have with you in the jury room during deliberations. 3 and 4. 2 and 3. Exhibits 2 and 3. This will be Exhibits 2 and 3. You may publish. That's what I'm looking for. It's not showing that I've got it muted. Are you using HDMI? Let me see if it's my system instead of you. Hold your ears, everybody. This might be loud. I think me, General. All right, let's go old school. Can you bring that microphone down and just play it through your speakers? Unplug your HDMI.
On Monday, November 28, 2016, at 9:38 a.m., with a GMT offset of negative 300 minutes. Agent ID extension is 203. Knoxville Police Communications Center. Yes, I have an employee that has not reported for work today, and highly unlike her. I've tried calling her home number, I've tried calling cell phone, and can't get a hold of her. What can we do about that? Can somebody go by and check on them?
Yeah, do you know her address?
I do.
What is that?
It is 11434 Golden View Lane.
Okay. And what is your name, ma'am?
My name is Jennifer Whited, Whitted.
And what company are you with?
Jacobs Engineering.
And what's a good callback for you guys?
It is 865-216-6625.
Okay, what's the employee's name?
Lisa Guy, Guy. Her husband's name is Joel, Joel.
Should he be there too? Does he live with her?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
And they do have a dog named Jake. I think he's a big baby.
Okay. How old is she, do you know?
She is in her, I think, late 50s.
Do you know if she has any medical issues?
No, I mean, she has high blood pressure, but that's all that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that their house is for sale, and they are moving, and she is leaving our company, but that's supposed to be Friday, and this definitely isn't like her just not to show up.
I'll send a call over to officers, have them swing by and check on her. And if anything changes before then, just give us a call back here, okay?
At the same number?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
After that, did you make a second call?
I did.
And can you tell the jurors about that?
I had realized that nobody had called me, still could not get a hold of Lisa or Joel, so I called back to see what they had found with the welfare check. And I was told that everything seemed to be fine, that nothing looked out of the place, and so they didn't do anything further. I asked them to please go back because I knew that something was not right. She had plans with other coworkers that day, and that she would not have canceled or just blown them off. She would have at least called. So I asked them to go back.
And what is the next thing you heard in response to your request?
I was told that they would talk to a detective to see what they thought, and they would get back with me.
And what happened next?
It was probably 20 to 30 minutes later, I think, that I got a phone call from a detective wanting to ask me more questions about Lisa and what I knew. But I did not know that anything in particular had happened.
Was there something special planned that day for Lisa?
There was a lunch that she was going to have with some other coworkers for her retirement.
All right. And when did you hear what had happened?
In their home? What had happened in their home? I had heard that there were bodies found Monday evening, so that evening.
All right. May I approach?
May. Folks, give me just 1 minute. We're going to have a conversation off to the side.
I'm sorry. Gosh, she's.
I'm not that important, but she is.
It's going to take me a minute to get used to this. Okay, I'm sorry. Now, you indicated, Ms. Whited, that at Jacobs there is Ms. Guy was provided with life insurance benefits, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And at this time, Your Honor, please, we're going to introduce as our next exhibit, it's upon a records custodian affidavit, the insurance benefits policy. Of Lisa Guy. And we would like to publish just one page, the beneficiary page.
Without objection, we're going to receive as Exhibit 4 the insurance policy purporting to belong to Ms. Guy, and you may publish.
And Ms. Whitehead, are you able to see that at all?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury who her beneficiaries were?
To be able to read it, I need my glasses.
Sanchez, can you increase your size?
So Joel Guy Sr. was 50%, and then Joel Guy Jr. was also 50%.
Okay. And were you aware of the amount of her insurance coverage?
I know what the company provides employees, and it's based off of their pay, so I knew that she at least had that. I did not know if she had any additional that she could have the option to purchase.
Okay. And I'm going to pass the witness at this time, Your Honor, please, and then I'll may publish a further document with respect to this exhibit.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
hello, my name is Mark Stevens. When someone designates a beneficiary on a life insurance policy, do you reach out to those beneficiaries and notify them of that?
No, I do not do that.
All right. Do you know whether anyone within Jacobs Engineering reaches out to those beneficiaries?
When they're made a beneficiary, or
Right.
no?
And have you ever had any personal contact or conversation with Joel Jr. about the fact that he was named a beneficiary in that policy?
No, I have not.
So you have no firsthand knowledge whether Joel knew that he was a beneficiary, named a beneficiary in that policy?
I do not have any firsthand knowledge.
Ms. Whitehead, do you recall in 2018 someone from my office coming over to speak with you?
I do.
And you declined, which is well within your right, to speak to that individual, is that right?
That's correct.
And ultimately, you were nice enough, you reconsidered, and you agreed to talk with me on the telephone. Do you recall that?
I do recall that, yes.
And do you recall that I asked you, I told you that I had heard that there was some media report that apparently Lisa and Joel Guy Sr. were planning to cut him off financially, and I asked you whether you had any firsthand knowledge of that or whether that statement was accurate. Do you remember me asking you that?
I don't remember the exact questions. I don't remember that.
I don't really either, but generally that was the question, whether or not you were aware of the media reports about him being cut off financially. Is that right? And do you remember telling me you didn't want to talk about that?
Yes, I do. I remember saying that on quite a few questions.
And when you told me you didn't want to talk about that, you were aware of your testimony hasn't changed today from that. So you were aware in 2018 of this statement that you're saying she made. You chose not to share that.
I was aware that we had, in passing conversations, that this was going to happen, but you told me that I didn't have to answer any questions that I did not want to answer. So yes, I was aware.
Huh. That's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Whitehead. Thank you.
No, Your Honor, but we would like to just republish. It's the same page. I just didn't see it on the top of the page. So, Ms. Whitehead, I just want to direct your attention to the very top line of that. And it says coverage election amount. Do you see that? And what is that figure?
500,000.
Thank you. Nothing further than this.
Anything else, Mr. Staples?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mary. You may step down. All right, folks, let me check on your lunch here. All right, I do believe that your lunch is here, folks. This is a good time to go ahead and break for lunch. So I'm going to give you the same instructions you've already heard from me multiple times, and that is please do not discuss the case with anyone. If you're going to look at your phones during the lunch break, that's absolutely fine. Just avoid any media coverage of any anything. We have your chairs spaced out. You saw this morning where we have you seated this morning. There's another jury being selected in another trial next door. And so you're on that end of the hall. They're on this end of the hall. So just make sure you stay in your space and continue to remain socially distanced. Officer Coker, I think, is setting up your lunch right now. Loves to enjoy being outside. And I bet if you need a breath of fresh air without wearing your mask after you eat, she'd be so kind as to walk out there with you. So you can talk to her about that. Just make sure when your masks are off that you're distant from everybody else, okay? Once again, you can leave your notebooks and chairs, but